Hey guys, Chef Jamal here with Chef Jacobson. We are really excited to show you this really fun meal prep idea. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cultured Cooking. I am Chef Jamal.
I'm Chef Jacobson.
We are so excited to show you this really fun meal prep idea. It's super tasty and really easy. But before we get started, let's talk a little bit about meal prep, right? How do you feel about meal prepping?
I think for us, it is definitely necessary because I want to make sure that I don't have to, cook all the time.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this because you're showing us something that I've never done. So I'm happy to learn this.
Yes, I am a huge noodle guy. So when this came across my board, I said we had to try it, right? The really beautiful thing about this is that you can make 4 or 5 different kinds for all week, right? And then you can instantly heat this up and then you're good to go.
Sweet.
We're looking at tons of nutrition here. We're looking at tons of different flavors. So right here, right, this is gonna be our version of a fun curry, green, instant noodle base,
Love
right?
it.
And then over here,
It's like a more Korean style because we got the kimchi, we got the pickled bean sprouts, we have some sriracha, some vegetable base, vermicelli noodles, and parsley. And of course, I think the biggest thing about this is that the fact that we're using bases versus making our own broth and having to store a bunch of broth.
Absolutely. So we're just streamlining the whole process. We're using things that can be in your pantry already, or your neighbor's pantry,
Of course, you can always ask for an egg.
Always borrow just that one egg if you need it, right? And then over here, we have some greens. And then what we have here too is we had some pureed spinach that we've made a couple weeks ago and we froze, but we defrosted it for us. Some mushrooms, some peas, and then we have our soup noodle base, right? Really tasty, really instant, right? You can have this in your pantry and just kind of adapt it to a bunch of different recipes, and it's so flavorful. I mean, it's so flavorful. If you guys can taste this, you'd be surprised by how much flavor is packed into there. And then we have our little gram masala mix, some fresh herbs, and then our hard-boiled egg as well.
So you're gonna teach us how to make a hard-boiled egg because I think that's something that a lot of people are freaking out about is like, how do I make a bunch of eggs or what is the correct cooking time and cooking method? If you can make it super simple for me, I mean, that's super awesome. So what are some things that we're gonna need to do all of our prep and like have on the ready so we can do this?
Absolutely. So first thing that you wanna do is you wanna check your pantry, right? You wanna check and make sure that you have a vessel that can hold some hot water and refrigerate easily.
So no like just regular soup containers. You want something pretty hearty.
Pretty sturdy, right? It's gonna be able to lock, keep all of the vegetables in there pretty safe. We don't want a lot of air going in there and kind of oxidizing things, right? Outside of that, you're just gonna need whatever inspires you to eat well throughout the week. So it could be cooked udon noodles, it could be dry noodles, it could be spaghetti noodles. Heck, it could even be rice that has been cooked. Make a little rice kimchi bowl in there.
Like having your starch be something that's readily available, that if you just put some hot water in it, it's good to go. Okay, cool. This is great. So when it comes to vessels, I think, what people don't really talk about is if we're gonna be putting hot liquid into it, plastic is usually not the best way to go because it starts leaching chemicals and we don't want that. So that's also another really good reason we should use glass. Plus it's good for the environment.
It's great for the environment.
Plastic's not that great.
We can reuse this and it's also really sexy. When you see all the colors in there, you're gonna love it.
You can also do the old school where you get your old kimchi bottles. I just recycle them.
Oh yeah, it's a great idea.
Awesome. And you can get new lids from it. It's pretty easy.
Yes, you can get that on Amazon or a local hardware store if you need.
Perfect. So of course we're gonna need our cutting boards and knives.
So we're gonna need our cutting boards and knives. I have a pot here that's ready for some boiling water so we can do our egg inside of it.
Love it.
Right? And then outside of that, we don't need much.
Okay. So let's get started. Like what was the first thing we're gonna do?
All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is that we're gonna start hard boiling our egg, right? So since it's a hard boiled egg, what we're gonna do today is we're gonna put the egg in cold, bring it up to a boil and let it go for about 6 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Super simple.
Super simple.
Yeah. So let's get this on and ready. And we don't need anything super crazy here. We have this on about medium-high heat. Drop the egg in there, and we're just gonna let that go and then once it starts boiling, we'll tend back to it.
What's next? What do we gotta do?
So now we need to layer our beautiful containers with flavor. That's how we're gonna think of it. We're layering for flavor. So we wanna put our soup base at the very bottom first.
Okay.
For you, it's gonna be your vegetable stock. For me, it's gonna be the noodles.
Yeah.
The noodle-based soup, excuse me.
So we're using Knorr's vegetable base. I think this is awesome. You can get a big giant, this makes about 50 gallons of soup. So
oh my goodness.
I don't know if you guys ever had to store a gallon of soup in your, or broth in your fridge. It's super encompassive. But this, you can literally just have a little jar of this, have in your fridge. It's also shelf stable, so you don't have to stress about it. I love these.
It's great.
So we're putting in our soup base in. Mm-hmm. You got your mimis in there, our memis.
Got this.
All right.
Super tasty. Sweet. And then next we want to put whatever noodles that you're using, we want to kind of put that in next.
Okay.
Or starch. All right.
So I'm going to throw that in. So we could use, now I think on this, we have the dry noodles in there, but we can also use, you said like cooked rice.
Yep.
Cooked noodles is okay in here.
Cooked noodles are great. Udon, spaghetti, whatever you have in your pantry or whatever you prefer.
Sweet.
Right?
So if you're trying to go like a minestrone, you get that like those little shells and all stuff. That'd be delicious.
That'd be really cool, right? You can make like a little pasta situation.
Okay.
We're going on a totally different route. So next, I would continue to put our flavor stuff in there because once it all hits together, we want that to work out.
So I'm using Sriracha.
Yeah. A little Sriracha for spice, I like it. And then right here I have our gram masala, right?
Beautiful.
I'm gonna pop that in there. Shake it on down so it gets to the bottom. Okay, next. And then what do we have here?
Sesame oil?
Yeah, so we have a little sesame oil for accent. Drop that in there. I'm just gonna pour that all over that. And then we can start putting in our other vegetables. So for you, it'll be bean sprouts.
Beautiful. So I love bean sprouts. I like getting the pickled stuff, mainly because I don't know if you've ever like bought a bag of bean sprouts. It feels like it only comes in a 1 pound bag.
Oh yeah, they're huge.
And it's just like, by the time after making that one, a couple days later, it's already like bad. So
yeah,
I like the pickled stuff. But of course, using fresh if you're...
Fresh is fine. But also stuff in a can are also good because they have to be preserved at the right consistency, right? So like if you're putting in mushrooms, so we have canned mushrooms,
love it,
canned peas, right? And we're gonna make that into something super delicious. These are still fresh and delicious, right?
Beautiful.
So I'm gonna put in the mushrooms.
Sweet. While he's putting those in, I got kimchi going. I'm gonna let you finish yours first, because Dan's already having
oh, Dan's in there.
Dan's all up in yours. I'm gonna make sure everybody sees what we're doing.
And I'm gonna try to get those nice and layered.
Who taught you how to do chopsticks?
Here's a really good story, right?
Okay.
So when I was in the military, I was out in Arizona for about 1.5 years doing some training, and I've never eaten sushi before. So a bunch of buddies took me down to a sushi spot in Arizona, by the way.
Of course.
I didn't know any better.
The driest climate ever.
Landlocked. Super gross. So we tried sushi, and I didn't know how to hold the chopstick. So there's like 4 or 5 guys just like, this is how you do it. This is how you eat it. This is how it works. So after about a couple of months of trying, I learned eventually how to use chopsticks.
All right. I've never seen it done that way.
Really?
But it works. I mean, it works for you. So I'm going to be putting in my kimchi. And then what do you got next?
So now I got these peas. And now these peas can be fresh out of the can or they can be frozen, right? And if they're frozen, that only just helps with everything because the bags are so big and we won't be using the whole thing, so you can take the rest of it and put it back into the freezer.
Exactly.
Right. So I'm just going to pour those bad boys in there.
So we're making kind of like a Korean pho over here. You're making more of like a Indian curry.
Indian curry inspired.
Super like green. I love all the greens in there. Like you're going for the healthy route, which is super important.
Yeah, and it's really important this time of year when the sun is not really prevalent that we get all of those nutrients and vitamins in our system. Right?
Vitamins.
And then we have this beautiful, look at this, pureed spinach that we froze and we made way ahead of time for a different dish, but it applies right here.
So we're using leftovers too, which is the thing. That's another big thing. People have a problem with leftovers because they're, again, especially like Thanksgiving, I think this would be a really good idea for like Thanksgiving, making like like turkey soup or anything like that, instant turkey soup. This would be perfect.
Goodness. Ham, you can put ham in there.
Ham in there.
Or tofu, tons of tofu, right?
Tons of tofu. Beautiful. So, all right, so the hard stuff's done. And I can see our eggs starting to boil.
It's starting to do its little thing, right?
It's nice and happy. I like it.
That's great. So next, we can start working on our parsley here, and we'll save the stems, right? If we want to, because we have a bag that we're collecting for stock.
Yep. And compost. Now, for those of you who are out there, if you've never actually done any of our knife skill classes on our YouTube page, which, by the way, we now have our own URL. So youtube.com/feedthemass. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. But you can also go on there and check out knife skills if you want to learn how to chop better, how to hold a knife. So make sure you go back to there. But we're just gonna just chop these up into like a good small,
nice little rough chop, nothing crazy.
Okay. Now here's a really good tip for those of you at home. Making sure you have these, they're called
grippers?
Well, they're shelf liners.
Oh, that's what they are. I just call them grippers in my house.
So we use a shelf liner to kind of put it underneath your cutting board and keeps it from moving. So when you're chopping, you're not really stressing out. And again, always make sure you take your time. And you want to have a sharp knife. You don't want no dull knives.
Because a sharp knife is going to do all the work for you.
Exactly. I think mine's pretty much ready.
Oh, nice. That looks really beautiful. Look at all these colors, right? So we have our noodle base at the bottom, which is going to be our veggie stock. We have our white for our noodles, and then all of this wonderful flavor in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, if you're going more traditional, you can also use cilantro. You can use any kind of rosemary, any kind of herb you want. It would work really well in this. Now, if you want to not make this vegetarian, you can also go with some shredded chicken. If you're going for more like the veg or the more, I guess, chicken pho kind of feel. Also, you can throw more aromatic liquids in there. So like we put sriracha. You can put sesame oil. You can use hoisin sauce, pickled onions, any kind of, even some like jalapenos. You want to spice up real good.
That sounds
some jalapenos
really good
in there. So yeah, I think this is a really good option. I love it. So we got that boiling. It's been about, what, 3 minutes? We're going to go another 3 minutes. Sweet. I'm super excited. The thing about ready to eat food, which I think people don't understand, there's a big difference in what you get store-bought and what you get from a farm, is you have a really short time before it starts wilting. And I think when it comes to a lot of these vegetables, you want to make sure you get them at their peak of nutrients, which is super important, but also you use them quickly. And I think one thing that we don't really talk too much about is like what to do when your greens are starting to go bad, or like how would you like kind of bring them back to life? Okay,
so here's a couple of tricks, right? So you had this stored in your fridge, not really doing anything, and they started wilting on you. It started to get a little sad. You can put this in a container, right, with a little bit of water, or you can wrap them in like a wet paper towel, put it in a bag, and it kind of like reinvigorates it, brings it back to life a little bit.
Yeah, you're watering your plant.
Yes, because it is still
a plant.
It's still a plant.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't want to chop this up, make a stew, make something like that, you can use it in an application like this where it's kind of stored tight. We chop up the parts that we want to use.
So what parts do we not want to use?
So for this recipe, we don't want to use this really big stock here, right? So we're not going to use that. We're just going to use the whole leaf part here.
Why are we not using these stems on these?
So we're not using the stems for this recipe because we are just putting boiling water in here, right? So it won't have time to break down and get to a consistency that's really tasty.
Yeah, these too crunchy or...
Way too crunchy.
It'll be also kind of bitter, I would imagine.
So we're going to help our compost out, and we're going to just put those to the side and use that for that.
Yeah, and I also, if you're not going to throw those in the compost, I like to use them for like stir fries, chop them up, and kind of like add it with the onions and carrots when I saute everything.
Absolutely, that's a great idea. So I have one more step here. I actually have two more steps, right? So
well, here, you take care of that. I can chop this up.
Oh, perfect.
All right, teamwork.
Teamwork. So a couple more minutes here, and then our egg will be done.
So what do we need when we are like, because what do we got to do to, like, what is the process? Because like I said, you're going from exactly from cold water to boiling, and then you're going for a total of 6 minutes. Like, why would you go the cold water method versus the throwing it in at boiling point method?
So I like to use the cold water, bring it up to a boil, let it go for as many minutes as you want because it's easier. You can just kind of set it and then just let it go.
Yeah,
right?
You set a timer and you're good.
Yeah, it's done. You don't have to worry about it. You can also sous vide these eggs so they can get to a perfect consistency that you want. If you want to break this down where it's like runny, right? And then when you pour the hot water on it, it kind of cooks a little bit more. You can do that. You can get as fancy as you want or keep it really simple. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to use this method. This works for me. Use whatever works for you at home. Go for that.
Yeah. So you got a lot, so I'm going to throw some in mine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jazz it up. A little veg.
Okay, so it's been our time on the egg, so we're just going to shut that off, let it hang out, and then I'm going to grab a little bit of cold water to stop the cooking process. All right, so we're back, right? So we cleaned up our station a little bit. Yep. We are almost there. We'll show you how this beautiful instant noodle dish comes together. But first, so we have our egg, right, and a little bit of cold water to stop the cooking process, right? So I'm just gonna go in there. Oh, it's nice and cold. Woo. All right, and we're gonna start peeling this bad boy.
Now, that has always been like my biggest like struggle is the peeling process.
Oh gosh.
It's just like getting it. So the great thing about like using, you know, ice water or cold water is it kind of shocks the cooking and it also kind of loosens up the shell from the egg. So I love that.
Okay. So one way to do this after peeling a bunch of eggs, I've learned that you can kind of like break the top a little bit, right? Get a little opening and then a little liquid, and then kind of just finagle the spoon underneath the membrane there and just kind of peel it away so your hands don't get all weird. And then what's gonna happen next is really cool, right? Just kind of break that off, and you don't have to peel the whole thing. You can just peel like half of it, and then the other half should
just come right out.
It should just come right out.
There you go.
There it is.
I think that's a success.
Super simple, right? Everything's in there, not super messy. So if you had to do 50 of those eggs for a party, really simple.
Or you can just buy a bunch of hard-boiled eggs.
Or you can do that. Super simple.
So we're gonna throw that right in there?
So we're just gonna throw that right in there.
Awesome. And we got our water going.
Water going. So at this point, the meal prep is done. What we would do, we would kind of seal this up. You would label it Monday Tasty Curry Deliciousness, and that'll be good to go.
Sweet.
But since we want to show you all of the action, right? We have some water boiling here, and we're gonna pour that right on top. All right, so all we need to do is pour that hot water just right on top.
Oh, that's very simple. Now, if you don't have a kettle, you can also just use a regular microwave and boil water with a microwave. I think that would totally work for this.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
Pass that along to you.
Thank you. How long do we wait?
So I would wait about a minute or two, give everything a chance to kind of just hang out, come up to temperature. The noodles get reconstituted with that water. The broth gets to do its thing, break down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you can give it a nice little, just a gentle mix.
Sweet.
And this is when you'll know how flavorful it is.
Now be careful, this feels pretty hot. So
yeah, this is hot, so I'm holding it at the edges here. That looks absolutely delicious.
It's Instagram worthy. I like it. And it's a perfect time, you know, we're finishing up winter. And this is like super easy. I like your color. It's like that really dark green.
It's really rich.
All right, I'm super excited about this.
All right,
let's try this, the moment of truth.
Okay. Are these slurp worthy?
Oh man, Chef Jamal, thank you so much for showing us.
Absolutely.
Also, those of you out there, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing to our YouTube channel. YouTube.com/feedthemas. Chef Jamal, you're a saint. Thank you for making meal prep amazing.
Absolutely.
And thank you, everyone watching online. Make sure you go to Instagram, where you get to follow Chef Jamal. We'll put the link down below, of course. And if you guys love what you're doing, again, throw a thumbs up, share with a friend, try it out, send us pictures on Instagram, because that's the way you make friends. And we'll see you again in a couple weeks.
See you guys.
Peace. I don't know why it is when it comes to ramen, this is like the natural pose you'd put yourself into.
Just
super close to the bowl. Mm-hmm. This is why I'm a clean eater. My face is no more than 6 inches away from the bowl.
Some nice slurps. Nice. Good slurp.
I've been watching a show called Midnight Diner. Man.
Super good, right?
Yeah, it's good. I love the concept. I make one thing, if I can make something else with whatever I got.